One of the most powerful tools you'll have at your disposal when you're building a WordPress theme is what's called the template hierarchy. And in this video, I'm going to do an overview of the template hierarchy. I'll talk about specific template files and their hierarchy when I get to them. But in this particular case, let's see how this works. The template hierarchy is really designed to allow you to get very specific and create highly complex structures on your website, yet be very easy to maintain. And it's also nice because it's easy to update the look of a site and change things down the road. So let's take a look at an example of a template hierarchy. Really, you can think of it as a kind of a fail-safe system. What WordPress does is it looks for one file. If it doesn't find it, it looks for another and so on until it gets down to the bottom, which is index.php. Let's take a look at an example. So let's say we have a query that's looking for all of the posts in category 6. The first thing WordPress is going to do is look for one named with the slug. So it would be category-internet-marketing. Internet marketing being the slug for category 6. I'll talk more about each particular template's naming conventions when we get to them, but you can see here it's named a certain way. If it doesn't find that, then it's going to look for category-6, so a more general name using the ID. Now, both of those are specific to category 6. If it finds neither of those, then it's going to category in general, category.php. And finally, if it doesn't find that, it moves on to archive.php. This, by the way, is a very important file when you're building themes because it's kind of the fallback template for a whole lot of different template streams like tags, categories, dates, and so forth. So a very important one is archive.php. But if you don't have it, as long as you've got index.php, the template hierarchy will fall back to that. What's great about this is you can get so specific. Let's say you've got 10 categories. You could have a separate category file for each one. So you make each category look different, structure different, show different information. Now imagine, for example, you had a category.php file. You could take all 10 of those categories and create a giant conditional that says if it's in this category do this, if it's in this category do that. But again, that gets very complex and unwieldy to maintain. This way, you've got a separate category file for each. You can quickly go in and see what's going on. It makes it easy for someone else to come in and look at your theme and figure out what's going on. And it makes it very important in the development work and updating work on a site. We all know when this happens, a client says, suddenly they want something to look different. Suddenly they want something to operate differently. You've already got everything set up. This way, all you would do is say, okay, you want category 6 to look like this? I'll just drop in this file. Again, a year down the road, things have changed. They don't want certain information showing in category 6. Perfect. You go into the category 6 file, or you create one if there isn't one already. You make the changes, and everything is exactly the way you need it without having to touch a lot of different files or figure out a whole lot of structural change. So that's a way to use the template hierarchy, which, by the way, is constantly changing. So you want to make sure that you're going to wordpress.org and checking on the latest template hierarchy. And in the codex, you'll find a page for that. Template hierarchy, a little description of it here, what's going on with it. But most importantly, this diagram, which I love to use because it's a great visual representation of the whole hierarchy. And you can see how, now some of these are fairly new. So again, these are things that change over time. These slugs are a fairly new addition, for example. They all go down, and this basic template hierarchy remains the same, though. Things that have been there right from the beginning. Notice these ones all coming down to archive, a very, very important one. But they all ultimately end up at index.php. So there's a great visual example of the template hierarchy and how you can use it to create extra complexity and detail in your theme design.